Hello everyone on the internet and thanks for tuning in. I am RyuKiva of RyuKiva Toku.
And welcome to another episode of Toku Bros. I am your host, Winter Cosplayer.
Brave Dragon! Dragon.
Of all the things you could have done, that is like the most obvious you could have gone.
Yeah, well, we're doing episodes 1 and 2, so Kamen Rider Saber has just started, so obviously I'm making my sound effects basic to begin with, and obviously as the year goes on, my sound effects are going to get like a little bit more complex, but just to
No
assume,
comment.
yeah, we've got Kamen Rider Saber going on right now, and I'm so hype. I mean,
Right.
it's
Okay.
raw. It's
Okay.
just raw
Okay.
dragon.
Anyway, well, for the benefit of the viewers, normally we don't do, or we've done a how can you
So
call it?
basically, we are doing regular rider talk now. So we did our 01 a few weeks ago, and now
Yeah.
we are doing our regular Kamen Rider talk, and we are obviously on it with Saber because Saber.
For the benefits, we're doing this like last minute kind of see what we think of the first two episodes at least, as we did do a preview video, if you will, of our first thoughts of the preview to Kamen Rider Saber.
This is long,
Now
yeah.
that now that the first two episodes have, or after the first two episodes, let's just go straight into it. So, RyuKiva, what did you think of the first two episodes
So
as
for
a whole?
well, I mean, as a whole, I thought it was nice. I mean, I'm not absolutely gripped, but I think it's nice. I mean, sort of making that reference to what I was saying during our preview talk. Like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna cut Saber some slack no matter what direction it takes, just simply because, yes, COVID, da 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 da. But like even the first two episodes, I mean, I don't think it was horrendous. I mean, I will say, I mean, even for, I mean, when you think of some of the more advanced series, I will still say Kamen Rider Saber's feeling a bit linear. So I'm thinking like, it's very much following point to point to point. It's not like a sort of complex thing going on. I do feel they've got a very linear storyline going on. That's going to be simpler than simple to follow. How about you?
Um, I will premise that this is by far, in no stretch of imagination, this is nowhere near for me to boycott like I am currently with Kira Major. I will premise that right now. However, I'm not. I need to remind myself this is a completely different Master Rider series, and what I mean by that is how last season's Master Rider 01, there was something about it that wanted me to watch more of it, and it was fresh. It was, as we kept on saying in the our last review, or when we reviewed the full series of it, that it was fresh, it was new, it was different. Whereas this one, as much as in a way it's different, it feels like somewhat, how can I word this? Not washed down, but just dumbed down. And what I mean by that is it's more kid friendly. And I
Definitely.
mean very, very kid friendly. And you can see that straight off the bat, how the way, not only the tone, not only the concept, but even the way the actors talk is a lot more,
Simple.
how can I word? Yes, very, and very exaggerated at times, deliberate. And I just feel, how can I word it? Again, I can't compare that it's a step down or such, because these two series, the reason I'm putting these two side by side is because literally they come one after the other, 01 and Saber, is it's just so apples and oranges in a way that it's in its way already a league of its own, or a series of its own. Would I watch it? Yes. Just as a completionist, I will still continue. And also because I'm slightly biased because one of the characters is actually my real name.
Yeah, I told you that. Yeah, well, all right. So let's get into it. Let's get into it properly. So let's look at episode 1.
Right.
I'm watching it and I'm like, what the hell's going on with this narrator? Right, so it's like, okay, we've got a quirky narrator, and then for long, like I was kind of trying to push back against people that were comparing a lot of the previews to Wizard. So you look at that narrator, just reminds me of the donut shop woman, man, person, transgender, and then transvestite rather. And yet, I'm just like, I don't know what this narrator is. I mean, it's kind of like a step down from Kakuranger's narrator, and that's just my opinion. Anyway, but like for some reason, I felt that this was so surreal that I could buy Kamen Rider Saber as that fictitious premise. It's fairly a standard origin story with only hints that the character has amnesia without actually stating outright, and this is going into like some random girl getting sucked into a whole thing, which is very cliche. But yeah, it had me scratching my head as to why they didn't mention explicitly in the dialogue with May this whole thing about him being a novelist status and what is his status? Is he a new novelist? But then he's got a series of novels, he's committed to a series of novels, but then she's worried about having to go out, which doesn't sound very professional. But then, one thing I'm hearing in the background is that promises is going to be a key theme during Kamen Rider Saber. And yet, the dialogue, as you were kind of pointing out, was a bit childish. I mean, I didn't think the dialogue was all that. Yet May, our female supporting role, she's giving me Akiko from Double vibes on that. I don't know about you.
Not as annoying yet.
I reckon. I think she kind of is already, but because like I'm kind of thinking, where we had like the last few years, we had quite a few strong female characters, whereas I'm not feeling May's going to be anywhere near this. I mean, bearing in mind we've got these rumours that we're going to have multiple riders, I'm really hoping, unlike Ryuki, that we will get like... Actually, even unlike Gaim, I'm hoping, someone with a much stronger presence than Mariko or Kamen Rider Femme. I'm really hoping that we do get like a female rider with a stronger presence and actual substance to the series. But that's like being very hopeful going on. I mean, in terms of both episodes 1 and 2, there's a ton of CGI going on. And again, it's maybe down to the COVID thing, but to give it its props, the CGI I do think is actually semi-decent. But and I don't know if you've seen the meme specific to episode 1 of the fact that we do see our bookhead monster becoming massive and then Saber just kind of spins around him and defeats him. That was quite funny in my opinion. And yet, I'll say there's some decent sword play, and I think in episode 2 they kind of touched on, how can you manage to do sword play kind of thing. I mean, the villains admittedly are vague at the moment. And and especially in episode 1, it just seems very done before. But the does seem to be making a habit of villain riders now as a standard. How do you feel about that?
So, if I might, I'll get to that in a minute. But if I can just give my 2 cents on the first episode and the second episode. So the first episode, we get introduced with the protagonist, Master Rider Saber. I thought he's an okay character in on itself. As you mentioned with, is it May, I think?
May, yeah, the female character.
Yeah. Now, honestly, I don't mind her, but she is not as bad as the support actress from Double with a slipper. So all there is.
I disagree. Like, even though this one doesn't have a slipper, but I'm still finding her irritating. I mean, thing is, like, I've seen all these idol photos of her, in, like, because she's a model or something. And I'm like, she's hot. But when I see her in the series, I'm like, she's just such a head jar.
On a different note, when it came to the ending of the first episode, then you see this very, how can I call it, almost equivalent of Mad Hatter kind of equivalent of a narrator. And honestly, I prefer Was from Guy. Sorry,
No,
not
no,
Guy.
no. Was an amazing narrator.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I
This,
prefer Was.
yeah, but this narrator doesn't even compare. I mean,
That's what I'm trying to tell you. That I
best, I mean,
prefer
at
Was
best, like again, like there's some
Zero.
similarity to the Kakaranger narrator, but even still, like the Kakaranger narrator didn't have to
Oh yes,
wildly.
yes.
But again, it's like at least the Kakaranger had like some spice in what he was talking. Whereas this one's like, I don't know what's going on. And like,
He's like an Asian version of Mad Hatter.
I guess.
But anywho,
Whereas, right, so.
just so I was going to carry on by saying that when it comes to and leading on to episode 2, the graphic, if you want to call it fidelity, I find it feels it's in its early stages of graphics, and I'm sure there is more for us to see graphically.
Mhm.
So there isn't much for me to judge on it. That said, I love the concept of how instead of buildings blowing up, they tear off like pages from a book, and
Oh
I
yeah, I
like
mean the
that.
whole book vibes really everywhere. Yeah, like I mean,
No, 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 no,
it's cool.
no,
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 I
no.
get what you're saying.
Wait, no, but I mean, as in literally, not just the book vibe, but just the fact that it's literally tearing off page by page, and I like that different concept. As you mentioned in regards to the monsters of the week, do you feel like a very almost a bland Roy Muda kind of feel
No,
from
no,
Drop?
no, no, no. No. I will say for me, the villains just feel like from Wizard. So I'm getting the more. Again, people have been talking Wizard during the previews, and
I
I mean,
no.
especially in episode 2. I mean, you look at that kind of really patterny villain. Reminds me a lot of Gremlin. It also reminds me a lot of Melee from Geki Ranger, ironically. But I'm gonna, and especially that little bug ant thing that was behind the main villain of the main monster of the week. Again, I'm getting, because like where, like to compare it to 01, it was taking that show a look and putting a modern twist, whereas this just feels a direct rip of Wizard, and that's just my opinion. And like the whole flame, like it's just got. It is almost like they're just like, oh, this is Wizard Mark II, because I'm seeing the whole flame thing really being a sort of look, like the sort of cross section on the mask, the Kamen, if you will. But I mean, as well, but yeah, I'm liking the way the characters are like, they're being portrayed like they are there to serve a purpose for the rogue warriors. Like in episode 2, we do get like a lot more explanation from Blades, Rintaro, as well as the mage woman who's in the
Right.
library.
Yeah. Okay, let me just with the characters. First off, I'm. What still interests me is the villain sides that you've got. Kamen Rider Caliber, the purple rider, and he has 3 effectively lieutenants with him that we know not yet whether they're gonna be a different rider, if they're gonna henshin into something or other, which still gets me interested. On top of that, on the protagonist side, you've got Saber, and you've now got Blades. Now, my current gripe, and I've got one other which I'll get into later, but my current gripe with this topic is the rider's name,
What?
Blades.
Oh,
No,
Blades, go
Blades.
on.
you've already had Blade. Now you have Blades.
I'm not bothered about it.
No.
But
It's
you've
just
got this real thing about rider names. I mean, last time you were moaning about Horobi and Jin.
right. No.
Now you're
Right.
moaning that it's just Blade with an
No.
S.
That. Right. Let me specify, and I already did in that video. But why I don't like that is because they were lazy. They were just using the name of their names and just chucking Kamen Rider what their name.
So you don't think
Never
this is
said
lazy
Kamen
either?
Rider name. In this case, they just pretty much used a former rider and put an S on it.
So which one's lazier then?
Both in its own way. But
I mean, you know, like Japanese kids of today aren't going to remember Blade.
I don't know.
I mean, yeah, all right, sure, they could have
But
come up with a different name, they could have come up with a better name.
yeah,
I don't think COVID's an excuse. So, yeah,
no.
sure, why not? You know, but, yeah,
But
all right,
right.
he's Blades, I'll roll with it.
Right. Can I just add one thing? Currently, I'm not feeling, and I'm just going to jump straight into suits. I do not feel for the suits, honestly.
Okay,
Well,
so in
reason,
episode 1, we get the basic form, and then in episode 2, we are introduced to the Jack and the Beanstalk form.
yes,
So you
not form, armament.
armament, right? So you weren't feeling the Jack and the Beanstalk armor then.
Either. Because, and the reason I say either is because, number one, I always get this, how can I word it? Vibe, or how do you want to call it? Where I always feel that Master Rider is like a solo version of Super Sentai, except more armored up.
Okay.
With Saber, I just feel it's lacking, and the only featurette it has is, besides the mask, it just has a dragon shoulder, and that's it. And it's very. It just feels like a Super Sentai outfit with a fancier helmet and a shoulder pad. Now, what? I'm serious. And while Blades is no better, except where the wolf head is in the middle, which I'm grateful for symmetry reasons, it's no different.
Symmetry.
He barely has any extra armaments. They both look like it. They're just wearing a Super Sentai outfit with some extra, just a little featurette animal on their chest or arm or whatever. And I'm sorry, I feel it feels very. I don't want to go as far as say naked, but it just feels very.
I mean, like when it
I
comes
don't
to the
know.
suit, like the one thing that I mean, like I actually do like the design minus one thing, and that's the big sword sticking out the head. That's on both
Yeah,
of them, if I remember
that's an
correctly.
interesting feature. I like
Whereas,
that.
like, the flames on Saber's basic, I think it's fine. And even with the armament of the Beanstalk thing, like it. On one hand, it's done before. On the other hand, it's like build and double. On the other hand, I don't think it's too bad. Again, like, maybe I am cutting a bit of slack, but still, it's neither here nor there for me. I mean, when it comes to the power, when it comes to this whole Wonder Ride book thing, I mean, it's a semi-decent gimmick, granted, but let's look in specifically at episode 2. It's like, I felt that, and this is kind of me mixing the story with talking about the gimmick. It's like this mishmash of, oh, I need you to give me the ride book back. Oh, alright, maybe you're the chosen warrior. If you're the chosen warrior, oh look, the thing's opened up and you've got this, even though the fact that you've got this lost ride book, here's a ride book that is promised to you. And I don't know what I was expecting, but when he reaches in and he pulls out the wide book for the bike, I'm just like, really? This is the promise to the promised warrior of the lost fire sword thing, is the damn bike, the thing that every Kamen Rider has anyway. And the thing, like, any clown can ride a bike. I mean, I'm sure even during this whole book war thing that they're going on about. Like, they could have put like 2 rocks on a frame and pedaled it.
Mm.
But no, it's like, oh, you are the chosen one. Here's the bike ride book. And it was kind of all kept in there, like all mystical and blah, 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 blah. It's like that's your promised thing. Apart from the main, Brave Dragon book is the bike book. Is that what you're trying to peddle us? Is that a joke? I mean, surely the Japanese children aren't that like, dense.
Right. Well, what I see where you're coming from. I'm not going to deny it is a little underwhelming, but from my angle, as a slight Transformers fan, I'm curious as to how they're going to effectively origami fold up a book and then unravel it into either a quad bike and
They
a
already did.
motorbike.
Yeah.
No, from a toy aspect, I'm curious.
Oh.
Now, when it comes to the actual, how do you call it? Armaments, if you will, where we, as you mentioned, the Jack and the Beanstalk. Now, while I don't give two sods as how the Jack and the Beanstalk form looked, and while I am not going to address how bad the graphic was when, he used the Jack and the Beanstalk and just threw a bike, riding it up a beanstalk to try and chase a monster that was flying. Let's not talk about how bad that was. But anyway, that exactly. That aside, conceptually, if they are going down the route like, now correct me if I'm wrong here, but conceptually, if they're going down the route as build, how they are, what's it? Because each monster from build didn't the protagonist basically drain out the power from the monster just before it died or whatever?
Yeah, that was correct.
Right. Yeah. So it feels like it feels like a similar concept, except instead of using bottles, we got books.
I wouldn't. I mean, I think no. I've got to disagree with that. I mean,
no, because why? Because you kill the monster of the week, and then it's basically having a armament book.
I don't know because because in episode 1 he just killed them outright, but then in episode 2 he killed them, and then he got the Peter Pan book. So
after the second one,
it's mishmash. So it's not. So again, like it's a bit. Yeah, I mean, I don't think every monster's gonna vomit a Wonder Eye book every time, but I reckon we'll probably see it for the foreseeable. And the thing about, 01, Geo, Build, is after the first arc, they'll get rid of the gimmicks anyway. So we'll probably just get, we'll probably only see these gimmicks for the first arc, and then they'll do away with them anyway, just so that they can peddle some products.
I mean, I'm curious as to what the super form, ultimate forms are going to be. I mean,
I mean, this is like, again, on one hand, I am cutting Kamen Rider Saber some slack, but I'm not sensing, from the premise out, I'm not sensing anything original. I mean, because even COVID to the Wind, this is meant to be a series of many riders, which is like, how are you going to do that during COVID? But
I mean, number one, you've already got from the. Hang on, let me start again. Starting off from episode 1, my minutiae spoiler, you get a dream/vision of how the protagonist was trying to save and yet was not able to save a little girl that gets swallowed up by a wormhole. In episode 2, we get introduced to this princess-looking chick that just comes out of a secret doorway in
the library,
thing. Library.
I think it's meant to be a different dimension. It's meant to be the dimension of blades, isn't it?
I just feel that young chick is that princess-looking chick, and
I reckon you're right. Yeah, go on.
I just feel that is the most. How would you call it? it's like you don't know how to do climatic setups, the build up, and yet it's almost like saying, okay, here's a character for a story. Next episode, okay, here's who it is, without telling you in the face that it is. And
I'll be honest, I didn't get that. I'll be honest, I didn't get that, but I think it's cool that you got it. But like, all right, but like, kind of looking forward, like, we are going to be introduced to Kamen Rider Buster. How are what do you make of the preview for Buster and like what we saw right at the end?
I am surprised as to them announcing a not trio or not part of the actual hero sword thing. That this is in and on itself, I think, from my take, a solo, and I
I
am
don't know.
grateful.
I reckon there'll be a trio.
No. They haven't announced the. Oh, sorry, we haven't seen the Yellow Rider.
Yeah, but
We've seen him come.
the previews show him looking like Deno, don't they? Oh, have you not seen? Yeah, in the preview, he looks like Deno, and everyone's
Are
been
you talking about
Deno.
what, the guy that's on the
Buster.
carpet?
Yeah.
Oh
Hold on. Is the
no,
carpet guy supposed to be a rider as well?
I think the carpet guy is
No,
supposed to
no,
be
no,
the
no. I
Yellow
don't.
Rider.
No.
Yeah,
Because because they've shown like it has been announced, like the Buster, Kamen Rider Buster, is some random who's got a kid and stuff.
yeah, yeah.
That's not
But
the guy
that's
on the carpet, isn't it?
no. So Buster
Right.
is a
The
father with a son.
yeah, and
At
then the
the end of
guy who's on the
episode
carpet, I think he's just a friend of Blade. I don't mean he may
no,
be a rider,
I
but
think I think he's the Yellow Rider.
I don't know.
I think.
Don't know.
But either way, at the end of the day, my one more nitpick about what I've seen anyway, before I give my overall, I at the end of the day, I wish they swapped the intro and ending around.
Well, right.
I don't
A
like
few people talk about this, and yeah, I was going to ask you, what do you think of the end dance?
right. The dance I couldn't give two sods about. I really don't care. But I feel the end song would feel better as an intro and vice versa.
See, I don't know, like, because thing is, both the intro and outro are done by the same group, Tokyo Ska Paradise Band or something, right? And that's kind of cool because that gives it that show vibe where it's like you literally just have one artist in house just doing all the music. So I like that this band's doing both the intro and outro, and even if it does sound similar, I'll cut them some slack. And like I've been having I've been having this debate with a few people on social media that people are like, oh, Kamen Rider Saber's got a very strong Sentai vibe. And I'm like, yeah, I reckon it's got massively to do with the fact that it's doing it's not just doing an end theme like Kamen Rider Hibiki did, and yeah, Showa Rider did its end themes, but they're doing an end dance as well. I mean, because like in Sentai, when they don't do an end dance, it becomes a bit controversial. And then Lupin Ranger versus Pata Ranger didn't even have a song at all. Whereas like Saber, they
What?
won.
Wait, what do you mean?
Lupin Ranger versus Pata Ranger didn't have an end theme. Brilliant. Anyway, whereas like Kamen Rider Saber has done the end theme, and they've not done like a kids dance along dance. They've done a we're adults and we can dance. So yeah,
Sorry,
difference.
let me just ask this, and I don't know whether you tapped it, but I'm going to ask again anyway. When's the last time we've seen a rider with an end credit?
I think it is Hibiki.
And with an end dance?
No, I'm pretty sure that's the first. I mean, at best, maybe Showa Rider might have had. No, this is it. I can't even recall show a rider
Mm.
and then dance. I'm pretty sure this is the first.
Because the only closest I can count to a dance-based song that has, how can I say, relevance, if you will, is Climax Jump. But that's it.
That's them jumping around. It's not really an end. It's not really a dance of sorts. And that was an opening. They didn't have an end theme.
No,
They didn't have. Yeah, like unless it was like a variation of Climax Jump itself. They didn't have like an original end theme.
I keep forgetting that they keep singing that song at
Oh, don't.
Super Sentai series that they dance to it. But
Yeah, yeah.
anyway,
I think that was in one of the crossovers. Yeah.
but that aside, um, at the end of the day, what did you think overall? And two, would you still continue watching with apprehension or with interest?
Again, I'm literally, again, I'm cutting them some slack because COVID and budget restraints and whatever. But it's not. I don't think it's going to be the worst series on my list. So it's neither here nor there. What about you?
I'm not boycotting it. I will
Ah,
watch it, but I am being apprehensive on the suits, and I hope they improve on it. I am. I hope that the antagonist characters have more of a role rather than just trying to smile maniacally. I hope Caliber does something um, drastic, like any good antagonist would. Um, I hope that Blades gets more of a substantial role than just someone that stares at desserts all the time. I hope that their characters develop, that we see it, that they show growth, rather than this, as one would you used to say, peppy looking thing.
no.
But that, yeah. No, anyway, that's my thought, and that has been our I guess 2 cents on the first two episodes right off the bat of Masked Rider Saber, as of this recording, that is. So, thank you for joining us as always. You can always find me at Instagram and Facebook at the Winter Cosplayer, and you can find
Wrong one.
him.
Hold on. I got it. I got this. So thank you all for watching. You can find us all on social media. I mean, firstly, my boy, the Winter Cosplayer. You can find him on Facebook and Instagram. And then there is this channel, Toku Bros. I mean, there's this very YouTube channel. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter at Toku Bros 71. And finally, myself, RyuKiva of RyuKiva Toku. I am on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. You can support my Patreon, and my WordPress is ryukivatoku.wordpress.com. From tomorrow, from Wednesday rather, I will be doing my Power Ranger list, as well as next week is going to be my Kamen Rider list. So thank you all for watching. Hope to see you again next time, and fist through the cam.
You just took that, you dumb bloody, and fist through the cam.
See you next time.